We want to thank you for your willingness to help the Alliance improve the sports experience for our nation's youth. You are joining the thousands of volunteers that have taken this step to become eligible to conduct Alliance program clinics and have demonstrated their commitment to our mission. By completing this training, you will be authorized to conduct all Alliance membership programs, including the National Youth Sports Administrators Association, the National Youth Sports Coaches Association, the National Youth Sports Officials Association, and the Parents Association for Youth Sports. As a clinician, you will be representing the Alliance and your organization as we team up to improve the sports experience for our nation's youth. Like any team member, you need to know your responsibilities and how important you are in carrying out those responsibilities among the youth sports enthusiasts and supporters in your community. As the saying goes, you only get one chance to make a good first impression. How you conduct yourself at your clinic is a direct reflection on you and the NAYS. For that reason, we ask that you remember to put your best, most professional foot forward and represent the Alliance with pride, dedication, and determination. You will find it exciting, rewarding, and meaningful as you become more and more experienced as a clinician. Before we get into clinic procedures, it is important to point out two things. First of all, as a clinician, you are trained to facilitate a clinic. You're not an instructor. The instructors are on videotapes and they are fully responsible for the information expressed to the clinic attendees. Also, because there's an insurance benefit associated with the successful completion of the administrators, coaches, and officials' clinics, you're not permitted to deviate from the clinic procedures. Doing so jeopardizes the member's coverage, and in the event they need this insurance, he or she can only turn to you for recovering their loss. So, you are a facilitator, not an instructor, and again, you don't want to deviate from the clinic procedures. Now, let's get down to the business of teaching you how to conduct a clinic. Whether the clinic is for NYSAA, NYSCA, NYSOA, or PAYS, they are basically conducted the same way. The only difference is that each one uses specific materials and videotapes, and the time it takes for each one is different. So, if you learn how to facilitate one program clinic, you can basically do them all. Most clinics are held for the coaches, so we're going to focus on how to conduct an NYSCA clinic. Let's pretend, for example, that this is a baseball coach's clinic. As a clinician, your basic duties are to plan and facilitate the clinic, lead discussion when called for, and then reciting the Code of Ethics pledge. Of course, completing the paperwork and submitting the paperwork to NYSCA headquarters is also one of your duties. It's important that you properly promote your clinic by sending an invitation to each coach in the league. We provide you with a clinic announcement flyer to use as a master to make this more convenient. One thing we do know from experience is that it's not a good idea to depend on anything less than a personal invitation sent directly to the volunteer coach to ensure attendance to your clinic. Once you have received confirmation on the number of coaches who will be attending your clinic, you will need to order the materials. It is important to know that we can only accept orders from the person designated as the chapter director from each chapter. We cannot accept orders from clinicians within the chapter. So, once you know how many people you expect at your clinic, the chapter director contacts NYSCA headquarters to place an order for the videos, journals, and membership cards. When it comes to the handout materials, we want every person to receive an original, so please don't copy these items. Order enough material to cover your clinic. Here are a few tips to help make sure that you have a quality clinic. After you have received your clinic materials, view the videos to familiarize yourself with the content and make sure that the video and audio are working properly. If not, contact headquarters immediately. Rewind your videos to the beginning and cue them to the start of the program, since some have long leads. Check your supplies and make sure you have everything you need. The basic things you need for your clinic are a TV VCR, preferably in a classroom setting, the Introduction to Coaching Youth Sports videotape, the sports-specific video, and in this case, because it's the baseball clinic, we'd be using Coaching Youth Baseball. The initial journal, which also contains the Code of Ethics pledge and the exam. Again, each person should be given an original. You will need the initial membership card that will be issued to each person. You will need the paperwork, which includes the initial level roster and the balance sheet. To qualify for membership in the NYSCA, coaches must successfully complete the entire NYSCA Volunteer Coach Training Program, which includes the completion of the exam. and reciting and signing the NYSCA Coaches Code of Ethics Pledge. And they will remit the annual membership fee. Now, we are ready to run the clinic. It is important to start the clinic on time. Since it takes approximately 3 to 4 hours, depending on the size of the group, the coaches will appreciate your promptness. Make enough photocopies of the master initial level roster to include all the coaches' names who attend your clinic. As the coaches come into the room, have them please neatly print the required information and then pass it on. Neat rosters are critical. If you can't read it, it is likely that we can't either. And the processing of your coaches into our database will be delayed and/or the information inaccurate. As a facilitator, your job is relatively easy. Since the instructors are all on videotape, the tape will do most of the work for you. You should begin by introducing yourself and let the coaches know that you are also volunteering your time. The coaches need to sense your enthusiasm and your commitment to the program. Otherwise, you and the NYSCA will lose all credibility. Briefly review the schedule for the clinic. For example, explain that the first session is going to cover areas that every coach should be aware of when coaching children in sports. The second session is going to cover sport-specific information or tips on teaching the sport. In this case, we're going to be using baseball. Mention that there will be an exam, signing of the Code of Ethics Pledge, and collecting of the membership fee. The important thing to remember here is that regardless of the sport, the first instructional video is the Introduction to Coaching Youth Sports. If a coach misses any part of this presentation, they will not be recognized as successfully completing the program and should not be made a member. There are discussion questions that are an important part of the educational process, and they're not to be skipped over.
But why do you think kids quit? What drives them away from sports? Go.
To generate discussion, this is a great opportunity to call on any of the veteran coaches that are attending your clinic. If you're hosting a large clinic, break into groups of 4 to 6 people and have them choose a spokesperson for discussion. Once the Introduction to Coaching Youth Sports video is ended, ask the coaches to turn to the exam and have them complete the exam. Remember, to be recognized as a member of the NYSCA, the coach must complete both sessions of the program, take the exam, sign the Code of Ethics Pledge, and pay the membership fee. Collecting the fee is not an option, and it must be collected for all coaches who attend your clinic. If we don't have a sport-specific video for the clinic that you're planning, or you prefer to have a live clinic instead of using the sport-specific video provided by NYSCA, you must receive prior approval from NAYS headquarters. Once approved, we will provide you with a copy of the Speaker's Guide booklet and Speaker's Guide roster. You can then recruit a local expert, for example the high school coach, to cover the sport-specific information in a live clinic. Just give them the Speaker's Guide booklet and it'll serve as their outline to ensure that all required areas are covered in the presentation in order to meet the minimum requirements of the liability insurance qualifications. Once the coaches have viewed the sport-specific video, they have only one step left to complete their training. Refer to the initial journal for the Coach's Code of Ethics Pledge. Read the pledge out loud to the coaches. This is to be sure that there can be no denying the contents of the pledge in the event that it is needed as a reminder to the member who may not be living up to the pledge. Complete and distribute a membership card to each coach that has successfully completed all requirements of the clinic. These can very easily be completed while the coaches are viewing the sport-specific video. And remember, continuing member coaches are issued a new card sent to them by NYSCA headquarters once they have renewed their membership. Collect the signed pledges along with the completed exams and keep them in your files. It is best to keep these records for at least 5 years. Please do not send pledges and exams to headquarters. These are records for you to keep. Now, let's take a moment to discuss how to handle a coach who has already completed the initial level clinic, let's say in soccer last fall, but now wants to be trained as a baseball coach. We'll call him Coach Jones. Because Coach Jones wants to coach baseball in the spring, all he needs to do to be covered by the NYSCA excess liability insurance and be recognized as an NYSCA member trained in baseball is to attend the sport-specific session of the initial clinic. He is not required to view the Introduction to Coaching Youth Sports video again. He's not required to take another exam or pay any additional fees. He does, however, need to sign another Coach's Code of Ethics pledge and print his name on the additional sport roster form. That is how headquarters knows why the fee was not collected and that Coach Jones is authorized by the clinician to update his file to include baseball. Be sure to ask Coach Jones for his current membership card so that you can add baseball to it. Remember, NYSCA is a membership organization and the fee is its annual dues. Coach Jones' annual dues then would become due 1 year from the date of the original clinic he attended, which in this case would have been soccer. Now then, renewing his membership, he will be recognized as both a soccer and a baseball coach and qualified for the insurance benefit when coaching either sport. Now, let's get back to our initial level clinic. After completion of the clinic, the clinician's job is only half completed, and what is left to do should not be delayed. And that is sending the necessary materials to NYSCA headquarters for processing. We recommend sending in the completed paperwork no later than the day following the clinic. Make sure that the roster is accurate, legible, and signed by the clinician. By signing the roster, you are verifying that the coaches appearing on that roster completed all of the requirements and therefore qualify for membership and the benefits of membership. Rosters with purchase orders or credit card payment may be faxed or sent via mail. We ask that you make sure that the amount sent corresponds with the number of coaches listed on the roster. The only time that the number of coaches submitted would not correspond with the fees is if there's a coach who is being trained as an additional sport coach. Again, this coach should appear on the additional sport roster since no additional fee is required. If a league indicated that they intend to pay the fees for the coaches, but a week or more has passed after the clinic and you still haven't received payment, let the league know that the insurance benefit does not go into effect until fees are collected. It is best to inform NYSCA headquarters anytime you are faced with this type of situation. Also, inform the league that a purchase order is acceptable and NYSCA headquarters will invoice the league against that purchase order. What occurs after the coach has completed the initial level clinic? As a member, the coach will automatically receive a membership renewal notice from NYSCA headquarters upon their expiration date as long as they keep their membership in good standing. They will sign another Coach's Code of Ethics pledge, which is part of the renewal notice, and pay the annual membership fee. NYSCA will send the member a new membership ID card upon receipt of the membership fees.
Act like you want to play this game. No, you're not. And you're not.
Unfortunately, not every NYSCA member lives up to their pledge. This results in complaints. If this happens, in order to protect the children and also protect the integrity of the NYSCA, there must be a response to the complaint. This is one of the most important aspects of the NYSCA. Why? Because this is NYSCA's way of holding volunteer coaches accountable for their behavior and gives your community the tools it needs to respond swiftly and equitably to complaints against coaches that have allegedly acted out physically, psychologically, or emotionally towards children in sports. The procedure for responding to a complaint is clearly spelled out in the Code of Conduct booklet, and if necessary, headquarters staff is prepared to assist you through the process. Now that your coaches are NYSCA members, for an additional fee, they can gain even greater knowledge through the Gold Level Certified Coach course. The web design course delivers an e-learning experience in 8 key topic areas and includes over 430 links to drills and skills in 21 different sports. On behalf of the NAYS headquarters staff and the National Network of Chapter Directors and Clinicians, we want to welcome your involvement in the programs of the National Alliance for Youth Sports and thank you for taking a stand in your community to help provide better sports for kids, better kids for life.